Right, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawahshi, Bahashem, Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone at Well. Shalom to Akim, teaching this word around the globe with faith in truth and in sincerity. This is the brother Caleb from the GMS London Forecasters Camp, coming back at you with another lesson to hopefully edify the Lord's elect. As always, I'd like to start by saying that we are the real Hebrew Israelites. The real Israelites, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, West Africans predominantly. However, you are going to get Israelites that do look like the other nations, because Israel has been scattered amongst all people throughout our various captivities. But if your seed line by your forefathers goes back to the man in the Bible that was named Israel, then you too are an Israelite, no matter what you may look like. Because the book of Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18 states that your nationality is determined by the lineage of your forefathers. So I'm going to do a lesson here going into the topic of being not hasty with your mouth, in terms of it's always better to think before you speak, and especially when it comes to making promises or vows to the Most High. You know, you can't be hasty with your mouth, because anything that you promise the Most High, you better believe He's going to expect you to keep your word. You know, so you can't be making rash or hasty vows to the Lord and then not following through on them. You can't be doing that. You know, because it's like a lot of people pray for things, but but when the thing comes to pass, they forget that they even prayed for it, and they just, oh, this has happened, and they move on to the next thing, in terms of like desiring something. You know, like I suppose you could say covetousness. Like, oh, let's say someone's praying that they get a job. They get the job, then as soon as they get the job, they forget about the fact that they need to acknowledge that it was the Most High who blessed them to have that opportunity. And then they go and they just, you know, run off into the world. I mean, there's some good examples in the scriptures of, for example, when Yahawahshi healed certain people, like He might have healed 3 blind men in one occasion, and 2 of them walked off and went about their business, but one of them turned back and said to Yahawahshi, thank you for healing me. And then Yahawahshi said, where are your companions? And he said, oh, they've gone, but I felt like I should come back and say thank you. And he says, your faith, Yahawahshi said to that one, your faith has made thee whole. Now I'm roughly paraphrasing that account. It's in one of the Gospels, either Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. But I remember reading that and thinking to myself, why did Yahawahshi say to that one person, thy faith has made thee whole? Well, it's because that one person turned back and acknowledged the blessing that Yahawahshi had bestowed upon them, rather than just like, oh, I'm healed now, I'm going to go and do what I want again. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm going to go back in the world and do X, Y, and Z. Now my problems are over. That's not the right spirit to be in. And that's like, I'm going to use an analogy. It's like, imagine you're having a dinner party or something, and you invite some guests to your home, and you spend your time all day like shopping for the ingredients, you know, seasoning up the meat, making sure it's you know, got the right seasoning, and you cut up all the vegetables, and you prepare everything. You spend, you know, hours in the kitchen working to prepare this lovely meal for your guests. You invite them over, they come in, they sit down and they eat your food, and then instead of saying thank you, they just get up and leave. You know, that's the analogy I'd use, in the sense that they're not really grateful for the fact that you've taken so much time to do something that would benefit them, you know, and they're just like greedy for what they want, and they don't want to turn around and give a little bit back, you know, simply saying thank you. And I'm using that in relation to when you're making vows to the Most High. Like, let's say you pray to the Most High for something, you say, Lord, if you do this for me, I'm going to do that for you. Like, for example, okay, Lord, if you deliver me from the situation, I'm going to follow you 100%. Let's say you make that kind of vow, yeah? And then Yahawahshi delivers you from the circumstances or the situation you're in, and then you forget about the fact that you even made that vow, and you just go straight back into the world. You're not studying the scriptures, you're not even reading the Bible, you know, you're not considering the precepts, you're not meditating on the things, the laws, statutes, and commandments. You're just back into the world. You know, how do you think the Most High is going to feel about that? Well, I can explain how the Most High will feel about it by reading some precepts. So I'm going to start off in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 5th chapter. So starting from 5 and 1, it says, "Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of the Most High, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil." Yeah, so you've always got to keep your foot when you're going unto the house of the Lord, and be more ready to hear than to offer the sacrifice of a fool, meaning not to talk stupid things. And sometimes if you sometimes it's better to just keep quiet rather than speak out of turn and say something that might make you regret what you said. Maybe sometimes it's just better to keep quiet and listen, man. Verse 2, it says, "Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before the Most High. For the Most High is in heaven, and thou art upon earth. Therefore let thy words be few." Now, that's a good point. Me, myself, when I was growing up, I remember I used to be very quiet because I was very observant, especially around people who I wasn't familiar with. I learned not to, in my early years, I'm talking about when I was like a small child, I just used to be very observant and watch a lot and pay attention to the things people would say and see if they held true to their word. And 9 times out of 10, I found that most people weren't people of any integrity because they never held true to their words. But me, myself, if ever I say anything and I don't deliver on it, my conscience starts to get, I feel it in my conscience. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. So therefore, rather than promise something and not deliver on it, it's best not to promise in the first place. Let's keep going. Verse 3, it says, "For a dream cometh through the multitude of business, and a fool's voice is known by a multitude of words." Yeah, that's true. You can just go onto any online forum, just read whatever any subject you're interested in. Go onto an online forum and just read the comments, and you'll see that you've got a lot of ignorant people who are just speaking out of their emotions with no logic, no sense, and they don't consider that the words are showing them up the words are showing them to be people who are maybe a bit shallow in the sense that they don't have much depth or much understanding of a field, but yet they're speaking out their emotions and they've got a multitude of words. You see it all the time. Verse 4, here's the point. "When thou vowest a vow unto the Most High, defer not to pay it, for ye have no pleasure in fools. Pay that which thou hast vowed." Let me read that again, man. That's powerful. Ecclesiastes 5 and verse 4. "When thou vowest a vow unto the Most High, defer not to pay it, for he hath no pleasure in fools. Pay which thou hast vowed. Better is it that thou shouldest not vow than thou shouldest vow and not pay." I'm going to read this again because this is exactly the point I want to make in this lesson. Ecclesiastes 5 and verse 4. "When thou vowest a vow unto the Most High, defer not to pay it, for he hath no pleasure in fools. Pay that which thou hast vowed. Better is it that thou shouldest not vow than thou shouldest vow and not pay." Now, there's a brilliant account in the scriptures of a person who made a rash vow. We brought it out at camp a few weeks ago. He made a rash vow and he ended up having to pay it, and it was a very severe price he had to pay. Let me see if I can find the precept. Bear with me. I think it's in the book of Judges, if I remember correctly. Bear with me, I'm just looking for this precept. Yeah, let me get this one, but first, in terms of this is a linking precept to the one that I really want. I'll continue looking for it, but I found this one. It's Deuteronomy 23 and 21. It says, "When thou shalt vow a vow unto Yahawah thy power, thou shalt not slack to pay it. For that Yahawah will surely require it of thee, and it would be a sin in thee." Let me read this again. "When thou shalt vow a vow unto Yahawah thy power, thou shalt not slack to pay it. For Yahawah thy power will surely require it of thee, and it would be a sin in thee. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee." Yes, you got to be careful about. You got to understand the power that you're dealing with when you're making these requests or prayers. You can't just be praying to the Lord for Him to do something for you, and He does it, and then you don't keep up your end of the bargain, man. Let's put it this way. Let's say you made a deal with a Jake in the world. Let's say, okay, you want to buy some trainers from him or something. He says, okay, I'll sell you the trainers for £40 or whatever. You go and you collect the trainers, and you say, yeah, I'll pay you next week. Yeah, we're cool, man. We're cool. I'll pay you next Tuesday. Next Tuesday come and you don't pay him. What do you think that Jake's gonna say to you? And then let's say another week after that goes past, what's he gonna say to you then? Let's say 5 months go past, you still haven't paid him. What do you think his attitude's gonna be towards you at that point? And that's just some average Jake in the world. How much more the Most High? You know what I mean? You've got to be very careful about the things you say, especially when you're in this truth, because life and death are in the power of the tongue. So therefore, you need to have rule over your own tongue, especially when it comes to making vows to the Most High. Let me find what I was yeah, here we go. I found the one I'm looking for. It's in Judges 11 and verse 30. "And when you make vows and you don't keep them, all it's showing is that you're a man of very low character and very low integrity." You know, and sadly, in the current world we're in, I'd say 99.9% of the people, basically anybody who's not in this truth, is a person of very poor character, because they don't really hold themselves, especially women. A woman will say one thing to you one day, "Oh, I love you. You're the only person I could ever be with," all this kind of shit. She says that to you 1 month, 2 months down the line. "Oh, I feel trapped in this relationship. I think we need to start seeing other people," all this kind of shit. You know, these people don't keep to their vows. Just look at the sham of marriages in this society. Now, a marriage really is just a union between a man and a woman. You're not supposed to be having the government come in and be some kind of third party in your relationship between you and your wife. That's really supposed to be between you and your wife. But in this society, people think that, oh yeah, we have to go to Esau, go to some flipping church where God doesn't dwell in there. In the first place, we're going to go to some church, get some flipping pork chop eating pastor to say, "I now pronounce you husband and wife, you may now kiss the bride." And people believe in that shit, and they put their wedding ring on their left hand, on their third finger of their left hand, and they believe that's what marriage is all about. But then at the same time, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years down the line, "Oh, I think I need a divorce." So these people are getting divorced. But didn't you just say, hang on a minute, didn't you stand up in that flipping pagan church in front of the pork chop eating pastor saying, "Till death do us part"? Obviously, people aren't keeping their vows. That's why these marriages are falling apart left, right, and center. You know, the divorce rate is through the roof because people are of low integrity. They say one thing one day, but their talk is cheap. Now, this is the thing. If you're a wise man and you make sure that your words that you speak are few, they become like choice silver. So that when a man of wisdom utters something, you think, hang on a minute, this is a man of understanding. I'm going to listen to what he's got to say. It's just natural. People just respect people who are have integrity. Not everybody's got integrity, but people do recognize, hang on a minute, I can trust that guy. He's got integrity. How do you get integrity? By keeping yourself to a standard. But most people in this world, they don't hold themselves to any standard. Their standard is like flipping a leaf on a tree. It gets blown about with whichever way the direction the wind is blowing that day. Because they've got no root in them. They've got no fucking spine. They're spineless. You know, let me read this account. Judges 11 and verse 30. And Jephthah vowed a vow unto Yahawah and said, if thou shalt deliver the children of Ammon into mine hands. So for those of you who don't know, the children of Ammon are so-called Japanese people today. They descended from Lot. You can read about that in Genesis, I believe the 18th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. It's either 18 or 19. It escapes me off the top of my head, but basically it says, and Jephthah vowed a vow unto Yahawah and said, if thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon into mine hands, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth out of the doors of mine house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, shall surely be Yahawah's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. Now, that is a very fucking stupid vow to make, man. Sorry, man, I've just got to say it that way. It's a fucking stupid vow to make. You can't control the first thing that you see when you go home. Any sensible person would think, you know what, man? Let's say you're living with your family and you've got children, for example, you've got children, yeah? And let's say you've got a pet dog or a pet cat or something. And, you know, you treat the pet dog as if it is a member of the family because you love the dog. Same likewise if you've got a cat. And you say, you know what, man? Lord, if you deliver up the children of Ammon into my hands, I sacrifice the first thing that comes out of my front door to meet me when I come home. Let's say you come home and your little dog comes running out to meet you because it's excited to see you. Then you have to sacrifice your dog that you loved just because you made a stupid and rash vow. Now I'm going to put this out there. There's a reason why this is recorded in the scriptures, because the scriptures say the things written aforetime are written for our learning. So we're supposed to learn from other people's stupidity. And that's what you can do when you learn how to be observant, when you learn how to listen more than you speak. Because, you know, when you're observant, you learn from other people's mistakes rather than having to go through the humility and shame of making that mistake, or maybe even the pain of making that mistake yourself. So there's a reason why this is recorded in the scriptures, because the scriptures say the things written aforetime are written for our learning. And this is why I'm bringing this subject out now. So it's like, if you're going to make a vow to the Most High, you don't want to be doing random shit, man. You want to be like, well, look, man, Lord, if you do this for me, okay, when I go home, I don't know, I'll study the Bible for 6 hours. That's something that you can control, you know, because you can control yourself. You can go home, you can think, okay, I'm going to watch TV, or am I going to spend 6 hours watching videos, studying the Bible, learning precepts? You can do that. You know, you can choose to do that. And obviously you might have things like, you might have a family, you might have children, you might have to go to work, but you can, even if you made the vow and you're like, okay, I'm going to spend 6 hours studying the scriptures. If you can't do it all in one day, you do, okay, 30 minutes a day. What's that? 6 hours? 6 hours. You could do it over 3. Yeah, you could do 30 minutes across 6 days. Like, okay, let's say you work all day, you come home, okay, I'm going to spend half an hour reading the Bible. Okay, that's one day. Next day, go work. Okay, as soon as you come home, right, half an hour on the Bible. And you do that for 6 days, you've paid back the vow you made. Even if you couldn't do it all in one time, you still paid back the vow you made. And that's the vow you can keep. So long as you, although the scriptures do say no man is promised tomorrow, the Lord could have you get struck by a car on your way home and then you can't read for any hours. You know, so everything we do, we say, Lord willing. Again, that comes from wisdom. You know, if you're a wise person, like let's say a friend calls you up and you say, oh yeah, let's meet up. And then you're like, okay, let's meet up. And he says, is Sunday good for you? I say, yeah, I'll be there Sunday, 2:30 on the dot. But you can't control what you're gonna do on that Sunday. For all you know, you might wake up and your car doesn't start, or you lose your bank card, so you can't you can't pay to go on public transport. Anything could happen, and that could prevent you from meeting up with your colleague or friend or whatever. So you can't really say, yeah, man, I'll do this, I'll do that. Everything you should be like, you know what? I'd like to do that, and Lord willing, it will come to pass. But as the scriptures say, man's goings after the Lord. How then can a man understand his own way? So if you're a man in his truth and you understand the Bible and these laws, precepts, and understanding, your whole character will change to where you're not so certain of what's gonna happen from day to day. That you say, Lord willing, if it be so. So let's continue on. Judges 11 verse 30. And Jephthah vowed a vow unto Yahawah and said, if thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon into mine hands, it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth out of the doors of mine house to meet me when I return in peace from the children of Ammon shall surely be Yahawah's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. So Jephthah passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and Yahawah delivered them into his hands. Now this is funny because Yahawah already knew. This is already preordained. Yahawah knew the first thing that was going to come out of this man's house when he meets him, because Yahawah ordained it to be this way. So he's probably just sitting on his throne thinking, yeah, you're going to make this stupid vow? You're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for your stupidity. So Jephthah passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and Yahawah delivered them into his hands. And he smote them from Ariel even until they came to Minnith, even 20 cities, and unto the plain of the vineyards with a very great slaughter. And the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. And Jephthah came to Mizpah unto his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dances. And she was his only child, and beside her he had neither son nor daughter. So imagine that. Imagine that, man. His daughter was excited that he came home, so she came out, with dances and with timbrels because she was excited to see her father. But her father father fucked up, man. Her father fucked up because he made a rash vow unto Yahawah. And it came to pass when he saw her that he rent his clothes and said, alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low. No, she hasn't. You brought yourself very low. Be honest, man. You fucked up, man. It wasn't her fault. It was your fault. It says, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me. So how is she troubling him when he's the one who made the rash vow of his mouth? If he had integrity, be like, you know what, man, I've done something very grievous and wrong, and I'm sorry, but I made a stupid vow. But he said, he rent his clothes and said, alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me, for I have opened my mouth unto Yahawah and cannot go back. Yeah, you done that, man. You opened your fucking mouth. Now, to be fair, the Most High sealed the instructions for him to do that. But at the same time, this is a lesson for us all, not to be hasty with the things that we utter from our mouth, especially when it comes to making vows unto the Most High. It says, verse 36, and she said unto him, my father, if thou hast opened thy mouth unto Yahawah to do to me according that which thou hast proceeded out of thy mouth, for as much as Yahawah hath taken vengeance for thee on thine enemies, even over the children of Ammon. And she said to her father, let this thing be done for me. Let me alone 2 months, that I may go up and down upon the mountains and bewail my virginity, I and my fellows. And he said, go. And he sent her away for 2 months, and she went with her companions and bewailed her virginity upon the mountains. And it came to pass that in the end of 2 months that she returned unto her father, who did who did with her according to his vow which he had vowed, and she knew no man. And it was a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went yearly to lament the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite 4 days in a year. So basically this was a thing where yearly the women of our nation would go up and they would lament the fate that befell the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite 4 days in a year. Now, this is another scripture which shows you that the women aren't really as important as the man, because this is a case where the woman she wasn't as important as the fact that this man made a stupid vow of his mouth, because it doesn't even give you her name. You know, in all this account, it doesn't even mention this woman's name. Likewise, if you read the account of Lot when he's just fleeing from Sodom and Gomorrah, it doesn't tell you the name of his wife. I don't think it even tells you the name of his daughters. Let me just check that. Because a lot of these women in this society are all puffed up thinking that they're the shit. When they ain't nothing, man. They're second-class citizens. I hate to say it so bluntly, but it's just the truth, man. And in the kingdom, you're going to know your place, man. So it's Genesis 19, yeah. Yeah. The names of Lot's daughters aren't even mentioned in the scriptures, neither is the name of Lot's wife. Now, obviously, you do have some important women in the scriptures, such as Abraham's wife, Sarah, Rachel and Leah, Rebecca, Hannah, Judith. There are, Esther. There are important women in the scriptures who did play their part. But at the same time, the woman isn't as important as the man. The man is the progenitor. The man is the one who carries the seed line, to put it bluntly. So all this shit about, Virgin Mary, Mother of God, all this kind of crap, that's all bullshit, man. You're supposed to be praying to the Virgin Mary or any other such nonsense, yeah? So that's a great account for not being hasty to utter any vow unto Yahawah. You really need to think. You really need to think before you utter anything and start praying for shit that you might not even be able to handle. Because a lot of people pray for shit that they simply can't handle. And that's sometimes the reason why the Most High doesn't grant you your prayer. Let's say, for example, there's a woman that you really want, yeah? And you pray to the Lord, if you could please, hook me up with this woman and stuff. Maybe the Lord won't do that for you. Because maybe if he did do that for you, you'd fall out the truth. Because you wouldn't be able to handle it. Or maybe you're praying that you win the lottery, or you have some windfall, like you're broke and you really need some money. Let's say you get a check through the post from some, some tax refund or some crazy shit. Now all of a sudden you're loaded and you've got loads of money and you can buy all the desires of your heart. Not every man can handle that. Let's say you've got an alcohol problem and then you get a load of money, so you can buy all the booze and wine you want. That might destroy you, because you might not be able to handle that much power, having the power to drink any wine or alcohol that you want at any time of the day. Your spirit might not be able to handle that. Just in the same way, like if you get a woman, your spirit might not be able to handle her. What if she starts saying to you, "Oh, babe, you're spending too much time in the evenings watching those videos. Why don't you come spend some more time with me?" You might be weaking, but you might go, "Oh yes, there." And you start spooning with her and shit. Then you're not studying as much. You're not reading the Bible as much. Or maybe she says to you, "Oh, do you have to watch that all the time when you're watching videos from, other brothers in the camps, or maybe even watching the apostles?" She's like, "Oh, do you have to spend so much time watching that? Can't we watch Netflix or something?" Maybe you're like, "Oh yeah, baby, and I'll be there in a minute." And then you start watching some bullshit, worldly shit, rather than meditating on the precepts. Or maybe let's say it's camp day on a weekend. Let's say you and the brothers go out to camp every Saturday, and then your woman starts saying to you, "Oh, do you have to go every Saturday because I work 5 days a week and you work 5 days a week, so the weekend's the only time we have together. I really think we should be spending more time together." "Oh yeah, baby." So then you start spending less time at camp, to the point where you're not even turning up at camp anymore. You know, it's a very slippery slope. This is why when you're praying for stuff, you've always got to remember that sometimes the things that you pray for in your flesh that you think you want aren't really the things that you need. So therefore, when you're praying for stuff, really you should be praying for Yahawah to bless you with the things that he thinks are appropriate for you, not what you think is appropriate for yourself. And that's where a lot of these Christians fall off, or well, fall short, I should say, because they're going up in the church and their pastor's telling them, oh yeah, say your prayers and the Lord will bless you with a nice car and a nice house and a nice wife and a nice husband and all that shit, which in reality is only things that's going to tether you more to this world. Like, let's say you go into a church and you get a wife and she's worldly. That's kind of like putting a noose around your own neck and bringing you back into the world, because she's going to be worldly. She's going to be telling you worldly shit, and you can't get spiritual with her because it ain't for her. So this is what I'm saying, man. When you're praying for stuff, don't just be stupid. Like, oh, I want a car. Oh, I want a woman. Oh, I need a new house. I need a new job. All this kind of shit. Yeah, you can pray for that stuff, but always know that, look, man, your will comes first, in the sense that Yahawah's will come first. Like when you pray the Lord's Prayer, it's in the English, it's, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy will be done. That's what you're supposed to be praying for, that Yahawah's will be done. And in the Hebrew, it's what is it? Abanawa Shabashamayim Kodash Haya Shamka Yahawah Malakwafka Thaba Aratazaka Haya Ishabaratazakawa Haya Bishamayam Nathanawa Alham Kawiwam Masalachanawa Hawabath Nawa Kasalachanawa Hawabath Yanawa Wala Athabayanawa Banasaiwan Abul Hawashai Nawa Mayan Wai Kaya Laka Hamalakwath Wahala Wahathaporath Lawalamiam Aman. So that's how you say the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. When you're praying that prayer, you're essentially praying basically for daily bread, and that the Lord delivers you from evil, and that his will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So that's really how you're supposed to be praying. Not like, oh, pastor's got a nice suit and a fast car. I want a nice suit and a fast car and loads of women and loads of money, and I want status, and I want to be someone in this world, and I want everybody to reverence me and all this kind of fucking worldly bullshit, man. No, we ain't got time to be paying for that stuff anyway, because again, if you did get that stuff, would you really be wanting Yahawahshi to be coming back earnestly, hastening the day of the Lord's coming? If you're happy in this world, you are not going to want this world to end, because you're going to have a portion in it. So therefore, always remember, it's better to have no portion in a place that's going to get destroyed, and have a greater portion in the kingdom that's to come, wherein dwelleth righteousness. So I think I've said enough. I mean, you could talk for hours on these subjects, but I think I've made the point. The point being, be not hasty to utter any vow unto Yahawah, and if you do utter vows to Yahawah, don't be slack to repay them. So with that, giving all praises, honor and glory unto Yahawah, Ba'ashem Yahawahshi, Ba'ashem Makakadash, double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone at all. Shalom to you, Akim, teaching this word around the globe in faith and truth. And until the next lesson, Lord willing, I say Shalom, wa abad babal, wa kwan la shalom.